Welcome to Knowledge Web Resources. This presentation is brought to you by our cybersafety experts to discuss the topic of financial abuse. So let's start with a quick introduction to the KnowledgeFlow Cyber Safety Foundation. We are a Toronto-based national nonprofit organization. Our mission is to make the world, but particularly Canadians, unhackable. We do this through training youth, seniors, new Canadians, and community-based groups about online safety. At KnowledgeFlow, we believe everyone should be able to live life online, and we want everyone to have the tools and knowledge to do so safely. So let's get started on making you unhackable. We have all probably heard of financial abuse, scams, and scammers. But this issue of fraud is a lot more common than you may think and can happen to anyone at any time. For instance, have you ever gotten a call asking for personal information, such as your full name, date of birth, social security number, any other phone numbers, or credit card details? Have you ever received an email that included a prize or trip that you won and needed to urgently claim? Or a missing bank payment, an email that had an attachment for download or that you needed to click on, an email that mentioned that you needed to change a password or that requested you to transfer funds? Let's take a minute to think of the access that you give to others, even those closest to you. Does anyone else, such as a family member, friend, caregiver, assistant, or anyone of that sort, have your social insurance number, any credit card details, your home address, or any password information that they can use to reset your password? What about the trust and responsibilities that you give to others? Have you ever assigned any of the following activities to anyone, such as having access to your online banking accounts and decisions, the ability to transfer money between your accounts, or pay and deposit any of your bills? Senior financial abuse is a human rights issue globally and prominently through Ontario as seniors are increasingly becoming targets. Health Canada has defined elderly financial abuse as the physical, psychological, or financial mistreatment of a senior. Furthermore, financial abuse is a crime that deprives older adults of their resources and ultimately their independence. This can include, but is not limited to, theft, fraud, misuse of a person's assets or credit cards, and just the ability for them to gain control and take advantage of another person's money or property without them being alert of them doing so. So, despite all of these threats, taking simple steps to safeguard personal information and being aware of ways to protect yourself can actually help minimize your risk. So, let's see how you can protect yourself from financial abuse. We can start off by shredding anything that involves personal information, such as your full name, address, and banking information to start off with. This can include receipts, bank statements, or unused credit card. It is important to also carefully choose a trustworthy person to act as your agent in all estate planning matters. It is common that people may try to rush you to sign something or make certain financial decisions, so therefore it is important that you know to never rush a financial decision and also remember to ask for it in writing to get a second opinion. Also, it's very important for you to remember that it is okay for you to say no. You have the right not to be threatened and not to be intimidated. Getting a second opinion and consulting with a financial advisor or an attorney or even family members before you sign any type of documentation that you don't understand is very, very strongly suggested. Locking up your checkbook, account statements, or any other sensitive information when others will be inside your home or even when you leave the house is also highly advised. When you are going out, it is recommended that you pay with your credit cards rather than cash to keep a paper trail of all of your transactions. Intuition is a big thing. And intuition and awareness are highly important. As you regularly monitor your account, you may suspect that someone close to you is trying to control your finances or is trying to take advantage. And so, in this case, you should call your local adult protective services or tell someone at your bank. Scammers are often very skilled, so they can be charming and forceful in their effort to convince you to give up control of your finances. You shouldn't be fooled, and if something does not feel right, it may not be right. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, and therefore you should never give your personal information to other people, especially over the phone, unless you are the one initiating the call and the other party is a trusted party. Detecting warning signs of financial abuse is also very important as it can help you recognize early red flags and signs and allow you to take the right course of action. You should watch out for unusual activity in your account, including large, frequent, or unexplained withdrawals. If you ask someone else to purchase something on your behalf, know that you have the right to ask for and see the receipts, and anyone worthy of the trust may not be offended. So remember that when you ask for the receipts, check the receipt amount and make sure that it matches the amount charged to your credit cards. Along with suspicions and signatures on checks, you also need to be alert of uncharacteristic attempts for others to wire large sums of money or checks that are written off as cash or gifts or loan. And this should even be a warning sign to people that are close to you. So you should keep alert on that. And for this reason, it is recommended for you to use a carbon copy checkbook or use a check register so you have a copy for yourself of all of your checks that you can anytime go back and refer to. If you suddenly notice that there is not sufficient funds in your account, or that you have bills that you thought you had paid that appear as actual unpaid bills, this can be a huge red flag. And for this reason, if you ask a caregiver or someone to pay a bill on your behalf, following up with them is highly recommended. A caregiver, relative, or friend who suddenly begins conducting financial transaction on your behalf without proper documentation is also another flag and sign that you need to watch out for. Any altered wills and trusts, along with any type of fear or lack of awareness or confusion on the behalf of a person, especially someone that is close to you, if you see that their behavior is changing, this is also a red flag and you should look into the matter more closely. So, what should you do if you become a victim of financial abuse? So, as important as trying to be educated about the prevention of fraud, at the end of the day, this is something that is unfortunately very common and that can happen to anyone at any time. So, knowing who to contact and what the right steps to take are essential and are important to know either for your situation or for other future situations of those close to you so you would be able to help them. It's important to remember that being a victim is tough and can often be very scary. Reaching out to trustworthy friends or loved ones, if you see any of the signs mentioned in this presentation, is a good way to start and can ensure that you have the support that you need and a strong support system to help you through the process. So there are different types of financial abuse. Financial abuse can be verbal and physical and can often happen over the phone, online, at home, in a long-term care facility, etc., depending on where you are. Depending on the type of financial abuse situation, you may need to act in a different way. So, stolen or misused credit card and money transfers, identity theft, phishing, and email or online scams, these are the popular types of scams out there currently. So, credit card fraud, when it comes to credit card fraud, you should consistently take steps to protect your credit so that way you can minimize the chance that you'll become a victim of fraud in the future. If you suspect that your credit card has been lost or stolen, it is important that you act fast to safeguard your credit card information and also alert your credit card issuer that your account has been compromised. Here are some steps and tips that you can take if your credit card information is stolen and how you can limit your exposure to fraud. So, if we get into the steps, whether you've been a victim of fraud or not, you should follow these steps, and that way you can be proactive and reduce future chances of card theft and be more aware. So, you should monitor your card and accounts. A key step to spotting fraud early is to regularly do this on all of your accounts. You can also sign up for transaction alerts, and many card issuers allow you to do that and to set alert transactions that exceed a certain amount of limit. If purchases were made over that limit, it would notify you, and it's a good idea to set this up so you can be alerted as soon as possible of any fraud or suspicious activity on your account. Checking your credit card score. So there are free credit card score resources that allow you to update and to track your credit score. Most online banking apps allow you to see your credit score within the banking app, and that can also provide you with tips and information on how you can improve it. So if you notice a drop in your credit score, that may also be an indication of fraud or some sort of suspicious activity. You also need to make sure that you're securing your physical cards. So if you have multiple cards or cards that you no longer use, make sure that they're in a safe place, such as a lockbox or a safe, and make sure that the cards that you currently carry remain with you at all times so that you don't leave your bag unattended or unsupervised. So you should also limit who you give your credit card to. And so you should make sure that in situations where you give out your credit card number to calls, this is very intimate. You shouldn't really be sending it an email. You shouldn't be sending it on text or over the phone. If someone calls asking for your credit card number, you should be very wary of it and not provide it, as most of the times these are places that disguise as banks or the CRA. The bank would never ask you to do this over the phone unless it is actually coming from the bank itself, and you would be notified of this ahead of time, and it would not be from a random number or an unknown number. You should make sure that you're not writing down your passwords also. So if, like most people, you have dozens of online accounts, more than one bank account especially, this adds up to a lot of passwords to keep track of, which may be hard. So your first instinct may be to write it down, but please remember not to. A better idea is to store them in a secure password manager on your computer. Please be also careful when using public Wi-Fi that it is not that secure. So as a result, you shouldn't complete online transaction when you're on browsing other Wi-Fis other than the one in your home. You should switch to cellular data if you absolutely must to make any sort of purchases outside your home, or wait until you are in a private area. Contacting the right people and reporting fraud is very, very important. So, the police, Equifax, TransUnion, and the Canadian Anti Fraud Center are all good points of contact to report credit card fraud. You may need to contact your credit card issuer, change your login information, monitor your credit card statements, review your report, and dispute any fraud that is on it to protect yourself from future credit card fraud. So, contacting your credit card issuer should happen immediately after you suspect fraud on your credit card account. You can do this by calling the number on the back of your credit card. This prevents someone from completing future transactions with your card if it has been compromised and stolen by another person. The bank should then cancel your card immediately and mail you a new one with a new account number, expiration date, and security code. After canceling your card and shipping out a new one, your card issuer will begin an investigation and typically issue a provincial credit for those charges that you said were fraudulent. You should change your login information, which is to be the next step. If you are a victim of credit card fraud, you should change your online banking information, such as your username, password, and PIN, to prevent future fraud. And this can also prevent fraudsters from accessing your information and further secure your account. Monitoring your credit card statements should be done after you report your fraud to your card issuer. You should regularly check your statements to ensure that you receive the refund for the fraudulent charges and that there are no new signs of fraud. Lastly, reviewing your credit report and disputing any fraud on it is important, as after reviewing your credit card account information, you should request your credit reports from Equifax and TransUnion. So on the screen, you can see that the police, Equifax, TransUnion, and the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center have the numbers listed there. As the police is available 24-hour toll-free anywhere in Ontario to call, Equifax, TransUnion, and the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center are all open Monday to Friday, roughly around the same time, with Equifax and TransUnion open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and with Canadian Anti-Fraud Center open from 9 a.m. to 4:45. Here are some additional contacts. This is an information line for each province, so you can look for yours below to contact for any help that you may require, such as resources, help, and safety lines. So when it comes to identity theft, there's also another common type of fraud that can be done other than credit card fraud that is kind of similar, but identity theft is different in some ways, as it can be described as a serious crime where your personal information or anything from your driver's license, your name, social insurance number has been compromised by an imposter who actually intends to commit fraud in your name. With your social insurance number, someone can easily obtain false lines of credit and rack up significant debt in your name. With a stolen identity, someone might hide behind your name in a legal matter, leaving you with a false criminal record. Hence, it is very important to take the right action if you are a victim. So rather than credit card fraud, someone then trying to steal your credit card, this is actually involves a bigger crime and someone stealing your identity. So you should report this to the police and the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. That should be your first step. You can report it both online and in person to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. In order for law enforcement to combat fraud and cybercrime, it's also very important that those who experience it and fall victim to it report it to the police. And the local police are positioned to investigate this incident, and the law supports the enforcement by sharing information collected through the reports with the police. And additionally, reasons to report should be that it could actually reduce the risk in others if more people report it, and could lower the risk of crimes together if more action can be taken against that. So the reports show crime trends and allows for crime forecasting, which, like I mentioned, can help law enforcement, private and public sectors to learn more about the crimes and help with the prevention and awareness efforts. It is important to note that before calling the police, gathering all relevant information is highly essential. Relevant information may include the name of who the person who approached you was, what they were trying to get you to do, when the incident happened, the phone number that they have used, any receipts, whether it was in mail, credit card payments, wire money transfers, etc., and or copies of emails, text messages, and canceled checks. It is important to remember that before reporting your fraud case, the information that you gather should be either printed out or it can be stored on your phone. That way, it can make the investigation more so collecting information such as the name of the person who approached you, what they contacted you by, saving the sender's IP address if possible, and any receipts and copies is highly recommended. So thank you very much for your time and attention. We hope that you use this as a resource to protect, detect, and correct fraud abuse, not only for yourself, but for your friends, family, and loved ones. We have an upcoming video all about fraud and scams, along with other great informational videos on our YouTube channel. Additionally, KnowledgeWeb has a large selection of free resources available to you, such as tutorials and tip sheets that are available in multiple languages and accessible on our site anytime, that you can conveniently download to your devices and share with others. That will be all for today. Thank you for your time and take care. As always, remain unhackable.